Entrepreneur life requires risk, persistence, and a slightly unreasonable belief that this thing you're building is going to work.
And let's not forget, copious amounts of caffeine.
Yes, that too.
Hey guys, I'm Allison, the Caffeinated entrepreneur, an AI-powered business strategist and systems builder with an energy level that should probably come with a warning label.
And I'm Bernie, the man behind the mustache. I'm a virtual events producer who makes sure the tech works, the delivery is clean, and nobody panics, including Allison.
Each week, we are picking up the conversation where my weekly newsletter leaves off. No teaching, no pretending we have it all figured out.
Just two entrepreneurs talking honestly about the highs and lows of growing our own businesses.
And why some ideas are worth sipping on a little bit longer. Welcome to the Caffeinated Entrepreneur. Let's go behind the brew. Hey guys, grab your favorite caffeinated beverage and join us as we go behind the brew of issue 71, Stop Charging Camry Prices for Your Maserati Offer. Bernie, I am so excited. Do you want to know why?
Why are you excited, Allison?
I finally have my Stockyards mug.
Yes.
And it just so
Cheers.
happens that you also have your Stockyards mug.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, clink. So I'm so good.
Mm.
And it's freaking enormous. And it does not have an actual, it has a cow on it a little bit, but I'm very happy about my mug.
Heck yeah. I love the oversized mugs. I don't really care what's on it. I love the big mugs.
I have a towel that says I like big mugs and I cannot lie. And you know, you got to go there.
Absolutely.
It's just so good. It's just so good. So, okay. Our episode today is the stars aligned. So it just so happens I had a conversation recently with a prospect who was referred to me by a former client who worked with me several months ago in my previous pricing for my offers. And he knew about that offer and he knew about that pricing. And then when I met with him last week, I've raised my prices pretty significantly. And he's like, what happened to the pricing model? Oh my gosh. And so there's like one side of the story. And then it just so happens I am obsessed with this podcast on YouTube. It's called Diary of a CEO. And I don't even know the guy's name. I just know the name of his podcast. But he's British and he's a fantastic accent. So it's very pleasing to listen to. But he interviews everybody, politicians, doctors, business leaders. Like he's all over the map with who he brings on his podcast. And he recently interviewed Hormozi. And I'm a big Alex Hormozi fan. Love him or hate him. I happen to think that he's brilliant. And it was a 2.5 hour interview out on Saturday morning. I kid you not. I'm such a spoiled brat. My husband literally served me breakfast in bed because I put the Hormozi interview on the TV, on YouTube, and watched it for 2.5 hours and took my little notes and drank my coffee and ate my apple scones or whatever the heck I had for breakfast. And he just kept coming in and out, rolling his eyes. And I was like, shut up. I don't have time during the week for this. But all that to say that during that interview, one of the many mic drop moments, he said, and this is the quote, he says, the price of a service has a one-on-one correlation to how advanced the business and the business owner are. So the goal is to ladder up your prices as you gain experience. And I could not believe how well that moment aligned with what happened to me on this recent call, because I'll tell you, when that guy was like, your prices went up by 30%. Oh my gosh. And I was like, yes, they did, sir. Yes, they did. And there was not an instance where I was like, oh no, are you like, I was confident for a reason. But anyway.
But did he come into that conversation like credit card ready? I want to buy the old offer.
I don't know. Yes, but no. Right? He and I had a conversation a couple months back. I think it was back in April. And at that time, he was really gung-ho, but then for whatever reason, he put the brakes on real fast. Something came up and he was like, I'm just not ready yet, but I know where you are. I'll be back. And I was like, dude, I'm here, right? Come get me when you're ready. And then he watched the replay to my most recent webinar. And from the replay, he's like, okay, I'm in. Let's meet. I want to go, 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 go. And then we got on the call. and we start talking through the offer, which, and I say this in the newsletter, baby, in April, it was a Camry. In July, it's the Maserati. Like we are at a whole new level with all of the stuff that I have for the Notion templates and trainings and all the things, right? And of course, the prices reflect that. And I think that if the pricing had been what it was in April, I don't know if there would have been any hesitation. It did catch him though. But I was so confident because I know how good the offer is. And so we did, book a call from a call, we're going to follow up. He needed time to think on it or whatever. And I was like, totally fine. I kind of swept the rug out from under him, but in a way I was like, I mean, this is why you jump on something when you think it's good at the time, because you don't know, right?
Well, I mean, definitely that's the other side of the FOMO, like legitimate. You could miss out on the offer if you don't pull the trigger, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting as you develop your products, your services, you get more experience under your belt, you are able to charge more for what you do. And it's not necessarily even that you're providing significantly more value than what you did before, right? Like what I do, virtual production, I don't really think what I've done has changed a whole lot from the first one to the 6,000th one. Like I'm still basically doing the same thing, but I'm a whole lot better at it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know what button to push when, how, even sometimes before the facilitator does.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me of a story. Some guys were working on a ship. It was a Navy vessel, old one, and they couldn't figure out how to get the engine cranking again. So they called in an old timer, and he came in, and within a few minutes, he figured out exactly what the problem was. Hammered on one spot, and all of a sudden, boom, engine fires right up. And he hands them a bill for $10,000, and they say, "Oh, you were here for 5 minutes, blah 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 blah. I'm not paying this." He said, "Look, I charged you $20 for hitting the hammer on the thing. I charged you $9,980 for the 50 years experience that I have that let me know where I needed to hit to do that."
Exactly. And that was like, and kind of going back to the Hermosi thing, part of that quote, the context is that your offers level up as you level up with experience. So even if the deliverable doesn't change, and in my case it did, but even if the deliverable didn't, my consulting is 1,000 times more advanced than it was this time a year ago. When I was doing online business management 2 years ago, and I was pushing the buttons and doing the things. Now I can charge more than I did back then while I was doing it, just for advice to other people on how to do it.
Yeah.
Because I did it and I know how, and I can tell them what not to do.
For sure. For sure. I mean, it's the same thing for me, right? Like early stage, could I have given somebody feedback and advice how to engage better? Yeah, absolutely. And I did. And most of the times it was good advice, not every time. I won't even say it's good advice every time now, but I have a whole hell of a lot more experience, a lot more
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to test out new processes, new
Yeah.
softwares and applications and different things that now I'm able to bring into these conversations. And the person that I'm working with, you are even a great example of this, Allison, right? Like you'll do a dozen webinars this year, one a month. How long would it take you to get to 6,000? Right? Like
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Never
it's
happening
probably
ever.
not going to happen, right? So for most of the clients that I work with, that really is the value that I'm bringing. They could have a VA push the buttons. It's not that
Mhm.
hard to do the thing, but knowing when, how, what the right opportunity is to run that engagement piece, that's I think where the
Mhm.
value comes in.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, totally. Okay, so let's kind of go deeper now behind the brew, right? Because I still feel like this is kind of surface level. When have you ever undercharged, genuinely thinking you were doing the right thing because you were making your services available to someone else, your experience available to someone else, but then felt resentful about it later because you knew you should have charged more for that because dang, did they get, like, it wasn't even like they got a good deal. They just straight up got a steal of a deal, and it was your fault because you gave it to them willingly.
Definitely. I mean, early stage when I first took over the business and made virtual events as kind of the mainstay of what we do. Um, I basically just took my hourly rate that I was charging, my corporate clients and said, "Here, this is what it is." But the value that I was providing to that solopreneur for their masterclass, which is leading to sales, right? Thousands of dollars of business for them, didn't reflect what I was getting paid. So yeah, like there were a few clients I worked with. They made some pretty good bank on their webinars. They sold some stuff, and I'm sitting there with like $200, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah, yeah. So where do you draw that line then between kind of over delivering and adding value so that somebody feels like they got the white glove experience versus them just getting way more than they, truly deserve, if you will?
That is such a good question. I think a lot of it does kind of come with trial and error and figuring it out for yourself, right? I mean, you are unfortunately going to undercharge people. We'll talk about this, I'm sure, later. That there are people that you are going to overcharge, and they are going to feel like they didn't get the value out of like you have to kind of figure out what that is. But at the end of the day, you should price your thing at whatever people are willing to pay for it, and you should try to get as much as you can for the thing that you're selling every single time, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that, and again, there's a difference between what I did before when I was doing VA work and online business management work. This was my classic over deliver problem. And I think we talked about this early on in the podcast. I had a client once say to me in a text message, "Oh my gosh, Allison, every time we think you've blown us away and can't possibly top yourself, the next time we meet or the next launch you put together or whatever things, you manage to go above and beyond what we're ever expecting." And in my mind, I internalized, if I don't constantly blow their minds every time we run a new launch or every time we do a new marketing campaign, then I am not providing the service that they're expecting, because I've set an expectation that I over deliver and blow their minds every time. And it wasn't that that was certainly not their fault. They 100% were not setting me up to over deliver. I just took their compliment and turned that into, this little internal mantra that I kept saying, which was, you have to impress them. You have to blow their socks off. You have to whatever. And so it was dangerous in some respects. You know what I mean? To like go into that. But it was one of the reasons that as an online business manager, I ended up burning out so heavily, because I was constantly thinking, how do I over deliver? How do I impress? And then I became resentful of my business, not necessarily of my clients, but of the business that I created, because I created little monsters. 100%. I say that with affection. You know what I mean? Like they'll laugh when they hear, well, not all of them. Some of them will laugh when they hear that. Others really were monsters, but we're not naming names.
But where is the line though, right? Like, I mean, especially
Yeah.
early, like you want to over deliver to a degree, right? Because you're building, you want people to
Mhm.
refer you, right? You want people to see immense value in the thing that you do. But where is that line between the over delivering as that value add, and then over delivering because the price, the scope, you haven't set the bound, like
Mhm.
it wasn't strong enough. Like where would you say that line is?
I think what I've discovered now within the program that I've created is, I feel like over delivering is when people come in excited. They can't wait to get started. And then they get into the meat of what I'm teaching them. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is so much more than just a Notion dashboard, right? Like they don't even, and then the expectation was that they were going to get this awesome system. And now they've gotten a system with coaching and they're, but I don't turn around and say, okay, well, now we should get on a one-on-one call. So now I can make it even better. Like there's not. Like for me, that's where the line has been. I blow their minds like one or two times, and then they're like, okay, this is what we're showing up for. And then we just stay there. You know what I mean? Not maybe that doesn't sound great for me. Maybe I'm like underselling myself. I don't know. But I guess I'm just at a point now where I have realized that I want to blow their minds in a sense of that they get more than they were expecting, but that I don't continually force myself to raise their expectations. Does that make
Yes, it
sense?
does. Yes, it does. Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think again, if you have clear expectations between you and your client, it's a lot easier to avoid scope creep. It's a lot easier
Yeah.
to not both not avoid under deliver, but also avoid over delivering, because everybody knows where the guardrails are in the conversation. You know, one of my mustache moments
Yeah.
recently was good fences make good neighbors, right? And it's so very true, right? Like if you know where the boundary for your property is, you're probably not going to go on the other property and piss the neighbor off, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's a super important piece of it. But like I said, I think early stage companies, yeah, you're gonna over deliver. It's just part of it, but that's also part of the learning process so that you can land where you need to with your pricing based on where you're at with your business.
Yeah. Let's flip the script because I know this has happened to me only once, but man, it stung. Somebody accused me of overcharging and under delivering and like consistently, like every week would bring up, well, I paid you blah, 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 blah. And you only blah, blah. And I'm like, I only what? No, I actually got that thing that was going to take us all month done in 2 weeks. I got it done faster. But in her mind, well, if you could do that in 2 weeks, what are you going to do the other 2 weeks? I mean, I know that the expectation was this over a period of a month, and it, oh my gosh. And I was constantly feeling like I was falling short because she was suggesting that I had overcharged her and underdelivered when I knew in my gut that that was wrong and it wasn't true. But man, she made me feel like crap. Has that ever happened to you?
That has never happened to me. I feel very fortunate, honestly, that every client that I've ever worked with doing events has always said they would not want to do another event by themselves. So I know that we've done a great job with that work. But on that same note, I have absolutely had clients that have said that to me and then not worked with me again, like literally go off and do events right after. Now, is that
Mhm.
necessarily something, a negative mark against me? No, I don't view it as such. Like I literally taught them how to do what they needed to do, and they
Mhm.
flew the nest in that case, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never had anyone directly say that I've overcharged them. I will say this: I had one client actually fairly recently that kind of inferred it a little bit. Like the resource
Mhm.
that I brought in, she knew what she was talking about, but she wasn't quite the expert that they were expecting.
Mm. Yeah. So she kind of oversold and underdelivered
Yeah,
her experience and then kind of pushed it on you as if you. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I think that affects reputation.
certainly.
You know, in both ways. I want to have the reputation of someone who continually over delivers, particularly on free trainings. I want people to show up. I will, and again, I have to be careful not to move the goalpost. But on our very first webinar that you helped me do, I distinctly remember somebody dropping in the comments, and I'm pretty sure they used an expletive, which I will not repeat here, but they were like, oh my blank, I can't believe we're getting this for free. And I mean, that, how do you not think that that's the best compliment ever on your
Tell
webinar?
me about
But then going forward, it was like, well, I mean, I got to make people feel like they're getting paid value for free. And then for a lot of webinars, I gave away the farm. Like, what's the expression? Who buys the cow when they get the
it. Oh,
milk
for
for
free. Yeah,
free?
yeah.
Speaking of cows, right? See how you see
That's a
how
good
I
callback. I
connected that
like that.
there? That was good. That was very good. But I gave away the milk too much. And because I wanted people to feel like they were getting quote unquote paid value. And then I had to be like, no, gosh, what I give away is so good. I don't have to give away all of it. And I had to kind of pull it back in, but I wanted that reputation.
Hmm. Well, I think that honestly, you've done a really good job of iteration as you've gone throughout your webinars, because I think that it does take a balance of what you give away versus what you kind of gatekeep and hold back a little bit for the program. There are a lot of people that will say, you know, give it all away because they won't have your experience to implement all the
Hmm.
things that you teach them anyway, and so they'll need you regardless. And I think again, it's a balance because if you do give people too much, they won't be able to do anything with it anyway. And then
Yeah.
it like you may as well have given them nothing.
Right, right. It is. There's such a balance. And I think that that is one of those. I mean, we could talk about webinars all day. I love webinars, right?
Me both.
But I think there's such a fine line and you don't know it until you
That's
walk
right.
it
That's right.
all the
And
time.
and
So,
you know, honestly, in the ones where you were giving away a lot of stuff, they were all very engaging webinars. Like it
mhm.
it had the desired effect of what we were trying to do. on event
Yes,
day. Now, did that necessarily
yes,
lead to more sales? No, it did not, because you gave away too much value up front. But that was a
exactly.
learning experience. And then the next time we went in there, dialed it back a little bit. I think that was the one you had porn, our porn. So that could have impacted. My
Friends,
goodness.
go listen to that podcast episode. It's back in there somewhere where we tell the details
We're
of
going to
that
be
story.
talking about that webinar forever, Alice. Forever.
All right. So I want to switch gears again. Okay. How do you handle a person who tells you that your offer is so incredible that, oh my gosh, you should charge way more for this? Like you could get away with charging double or whatever. And then they turn around and they're like, but I mean, can I get it for a discount? Like, cause we know each other. Cause Bernie, you are my co-host. You should give it to me for free or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, has that happened to
It
you?
has happened to me. It is incredibly frustrating and aggravating. Um, I will name someone because it's on the opposite side of this coin. Rob Conlon is amazing. He won't accept discounts from the people that he networks and works with. He expects that you will charge him full price like you would anybody else. And I appreciate that from him. The other individual, yeah, like we had several conversations, several meetings. Everything was good. He is actually a client now. But yeah, at the time, he was complimenting me on how valuable the service was, and how it made him look good and do all the things. But the price was too high, and it didn't really make sense for the results that he was getting right then. It's like, I mean, I can't help you sell, bro. And that
Right.
made me really angry, because it wasn't about my value. It wasn't about what I was doing. He was paying me all these compliments, but at the end of the day, it was what he was not doing or wasn't willing to do. And so that was super
Yeah.
frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Um,
All right, so you say that, and now I did joke about like, well, you're my co-host, Bernie. You should do my events for free. You don't do my events for free. However, we've been together a long time, and I know for a fact that I've been grandfathered into pricing that is far lower than what you're charging people now because we've been doing it together for so long. So I guess here's the next question, and I say this with gratitude because guess what I don't do. Is offer the same pricing. When I did online business management, if my prices went up, they went up across the board, and clients came with me or they were out.
right.
Like, and it was just the business model I had. But how do you decide if somebody who is a longtime client gets grandfathered into pricing, or in my case, I raised the price, still honoring the relationship, but I was like, hey, prices are going up. Here's what they are now. Do you want to continue working together? Here's what that would look like. How do you decide that?
Well, I think a relationship is a two-way street, even if it's a transactional relationship, right? So when you're talking about some of your older clients, you may be truly transactional and just providing the service, and if that's what it is, the value is in the transaction and the exchange of service for cash. Where I
Yep.
think it's different for you and I is that we do have a greater relationship than just the transaction here, right? You and I
Right.
network together. We are regular referral partners for each other. We bring each other in on deals. Like I am not just making money from you. You are not just making money from me. We are helping each other to grow and make money together. So if that's the case, if there's additional value add to the relationship, then yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you give the discount, right? Like if
Yep.
I charge you $500 for an event, right, which is half of my minimum price, but then the next week you and I go out and we get a $10,000 deal that we split, I don't care about the 500. It doesn't matter anymore, right? Like,
Right. Right.
and that's what I
Right.
mean. Like the long-term relationships, if it's truly just transactional, then it is what it is. That's the price. This is the new offer. That's what it is. But when you have the
Mhm.
relationship, when there is additional value being added both ways in the relationship, I feel like it makes sense to respect some of the prior pricing, or at least consider it based on where the relationship is at now.
Yeah, good. Because you made me sound a lot less like a jerk. Because that's really, for me, in terms of, again, particularly back then when I was doing online business management, but even within my program, laddering up my prices, as Hermosi puts it, is because I was consistently adding more value and more value and more value. And then the person receiving it They were just receiving it, right? There was not anything on the back end. Now, of course, if somebody sends me a referral, they get $1,500 worth of service, whatever that looks like, whether that's program, whether that's membership, whether that's one-on-one time with me. I absolutely give them value back. But at the baseline, every time I up level my offer and I ladder up that price, it is a one-way street. It's me giving, the value, and therefore I feel justified in asking for that price back. Okay. And I can tell you that I have, in all of the people that I have done this with, I have only had a couple, very, very few, who have just been like, you know what, thank you. I even had one former client who I offered to give them like $1,000 discount just because I was like, you know what, I really just feel like, the last time we worked together, things just kind of fell short. And like, listen, let's just apply that $1,000 and let's just get you in this new version of the program. And they turned me down. They said no. And they were like, no, what you're doing is great, but like, I don't want to pay the additional cost. And I was like, okay, like, cool. Like, that to each his own. And it was a very respectful conversation. But not everybody's up for it, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's right. And it's also, again, it's about timing, right? Your new offer may not have been at the right time for that individual, that stage where she's at now in her business. Maybe she got the value out of the original program or enough of it where another investment didn't make sense. But it's not always necessarily specifically about the price, right? I mean, the price, if the value of what you're offering begets a higher price, you should charge a higher price, and you should stick to it.
Yeah. And I think too, and I'll say this because when I had this sales call with this prospect last week and we talked about it, I was able to say my price with full confidence because I said it with integrity. And I put this in the newsletter. I wasn't like, and they're just like, you see an Instagram post and it's like, charge what you're worth, right? No, this was not me just raising my prices by $2,000 just because I wanted to make more money this year. That's not what this was. It wasn't just hey, it's 2026 and that was 2025 pricing. I'm raising my prices for the year. Like, I was able to say my price with full confidence because there was a reason behind the price increase. And so I would say that people that raise their price simply because it's an annual thing and they just do, right? Or because they see people in their industry charging more and they just feel like, well, they're charging that, I want to charge that, right? Like, those are people who I imagine, I don't know, but I imagine struggle to say that new price out loud because they're not sure that what they're offering is worth it. And if you are listening to this and you're questioning if your price is too high, I'm not suggesting that it is, but if maybe checking your heart, checking your motivation behind that price, are you undercharging or are you overcharging? And I would never say lower your price. I would say up level your offer. Like, if you feel like your offer doesn't match your pricing, don't discount. Just make the offer more valuable so that it does. It's my little unsolicited advice right there.
I think that's very good advice. And I'm going to ask you a question, and I think I already know the answer to it. I think you've shared this before. But like, where should you kind of start your pricing at? And I'm asking this from more an emotional standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Like how you feel about it. I'll stop there.
Well, I think the best way to do it is market research, because here's the thing, and we've said this, what's easy for me is not easy for you and vice versa. So if I charge you what I would pay me, I'm going to undercharge for sure because I'm like, I wouldn't pay somebody. I crochet and sew. I will not buy crochet or hand sewn items at a flea market or like at a craft fair, because I'm like, I can go home and make that. Why the heck would I pay you $35 for a wallet,
Right.
this big?
I can sew that I can make for $2.
Yeah, for $3, right? But somebody who can't sew, it's like, oh my gosh, it's so cute, right? So I think that it is never a good idea to charge someone what you would pay yourself. I think you need to go out and do market research, talk to your ideal client and ask them. And I wouldn't just say, what would you pay for this? I would say, if this is the problem you're experiencing and this is the transformation you got within this period of time, putting in this much work, this much effort, would you feel like this price or this price is better for you? What feels more comfortable? and then let the conversation go from there. So that's how I would say it's got to be market research. And I will say that even because when I up leveled to, from 3,000 to 5,000 with my program, as I had all of my clients going through the beta version of the Notion, and I told them what I wanted to charge, and one of them leaned in and she goes, "Good for you." And I was like, that's going to be the right price, my friend. Like you know what I mean? Because she had been through the program when it was just the regular AI stuff. She was my beta for the Notion. And when I told her what the price was, I mean, she just like, "Do it. That is absolutely the right price for it." And I was like, justified.
So while you were justified, how many times until you didn't feel that little bit of vomit creep up when you asked for the price?
Oh, friend, don't ask that question. No, and this is one of those times where my coach would scold me because I'm like, I need someone to pay me the money. Once somebody else like pays it, then I feel more confident saying it again, right? In my general rule of thumb, my goal is to get 4 people to pay that price before I'm rock solid knowing that is the right price. If I can't get 4 people to pay it, then I feel like something's got to change. I mean, like I said, make the offer better. Don't discount. Now I say that to say this. With my one-on-one, because that offer kind of sprang out of nowhere because somebody literally was just like, "Well, this is great, but I don't want your program. I just want you. What would you charge me?" And it's like in that moment, I was like, I got to come up with a price. And I was like, well, I'm just going to double the price. I'm just going to say it out loud, and I'm going to like hold back the vomit as I say it. And then the more often I said it, the easier it got, even if people weren't saying yes to it, but then they did. And then every time I got 4 yeses, I increased the price by $1,000. 4 more yeses, I increased the price by $1,000. You know what I mean? So it was like, so 4 yeses helps me feel confident, but then I usually increase, because we know me, I move the goalpost. We've talked about this. I always have to feel uncomfortable or I'm not happy. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that you acknowledged that you threw up in your mouth a little bit when you were.
Oh, 100%. Well, and here's what's funny. And this, we keep going back to the core 4. Every episode, I talk about the core 4. I have my friend / mentor / peer / all the things, former client, all the things, right? She's literally been in every angle of my business. She actually, back when I was charging, I think I was charging $4,500 for one-on-one. And she was the one who was like, "You should be charging $7,500." And I was like, I can't do that. So I was like, I'm going to charge $6,000. Got a bunch of people to sign up at $6,000. So I raised my price. Now it's $7,500. So she messages me literally the other day as I'm like, I got another one-on-one client. And she's like, when's the price going to be $10,000? When are you? And I was like, woman, I just got confident saying $7,500 on a sales call. Don't push me to $10K yet. But in her mind, she's like, they'll keep paying because it's worth it. It's not for the sake of making more money. It's because she knows what the value is. And she's like, you could go higher. I'm not ready for that yet. But I just thought that was funny. You have someone in your corner constantly egging you on, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't want to derail the conversation into left field, but you need that person. You really do. Whether you're talking about pricing or your offer or how you're selling it or what client you're going after or your ICP, like it helps to have the outside perspective to give you that little bit of perspective.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. But if we were just going to kind of land the plane on this, I think that the big takeaway is that pricing can get messy because it's never just about the number, right? It's about the promise that we make to the client and to ourselves about the delivery, the relationship, and the integrity that we're bringing to the offer itself. I think that it's really important to make sure that we have enough clarity where we can hold the line and don't become resentful over our pricing if we give someone a deal, or defensive if someone accuses us of overcharging, right? And that sometimes the lesson is the price needs to go up or the offer needs to be stronger. And those are really the 2 options that I think you have. So I don't know. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
I think I would just double down on as you're presenting your offer, if it makes you throw up in your mouth a little bit, you should feel good about it.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's the
It
wrong
doesn't mean
price.
it's
It
the
just
wrong
means you
price.
got to say it more
That's right.
often.
Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Remember, keep showing up, keep taking the next step because the caffeine is strong.
And so are you.